Hello, welcome to another Catholic Wesleyan video. I'm putting together this series of short videos that will be quick and easy to go through, and it's going to cover many topics to help introduce you to the various distinctions between Christian teaching, particularly from the theological tradition of Catholicism, and the teachings of Frannie Rose. We will be looking at the difference between Christian theism and diving more into the distinction between us and God, and the pantheistic perspective of Frannie Rose that also comes out of the New Age movement. We're going to be looking at who we are as being created in the image and likeness of God versus what she calls the true self, which is part of what God is. And that'll make more sense when we go over those particular videos. We're also going to look at understanding who we are and what our condition is. And through the Christian tradition, we understand original sin. We understand that our entire being has been corrupted. Our heart can be deceitful above all, and so on and so forth. Versus this perfect part of us that she talks about, which is the true self, once again rooted in that pantheistic perspective. And we're also going to be talking about the Christian response to this condition. For the Christian, it's entire sanctification. It's the blood of Christ being applied to us and transforming our lives and forgiving us and cleansing us of our sin. While from the perspective of Frannie Rose, it's getting down to that perfect part of you. It's that God consciousness, being aware of that you are God, and getting past all the layers of conditioning of the mind that has kind of drawn you away from that union, which she calls God in the center, we. We're also going to be talking about that the heart in biblical theology is the seat of the intellect. And this is going to be juxtaposed against what she refers to as the mind-heart conflict. We're going to show exactly what that is and evaluate what is a true relationship of the powers of the soul from a Christian perspective. Also, we're going to be looking at the way that Catholicism is viewed. That is, from the Catholic perspective, Catholic teaching is the fullness of truth, and nothing can be added to enhance or to supplement it. Whereas from Frannie's perspective, all the religions of the world are a product of the egoic mind, much like the relativistic perspective of Eckhart Tolle. And we'll go over that particular aspect as well. We're also going to be looking at what is Christian prayer and the bringing of our whole self to the experience of prayer. And we're going to be looking at Bonaventure at this point as well, and versus the mind conditioning that takes place within the New Age to empty the mind and question what we know about God, as opposed to bringing all of ourselves to the discussion and evaluating things correctly, which brings us to the discernment of spirits. In the Catholic Church, we believe that God created a whole bunch of angels, and about a third of them, following Lucifer, fell, and these are demons. So there's a lot of spiritual warfare and activity that's going on from the Christian perspective. There's a lot of voices that can come to you, and we have a lot of documented cases of demonic activity, oppression, possession, and we also have a lot of evidence of people who have heard voices, both audibly and what they think they're hearing within their own self, versus the dangers that exist in what Frannie tries to teach concerning this inner voice, which really is getting down into and tapping into that place where God is in the center, which God is the essence of the true self, who you really are is God from this pantheistic perspective. Some of the sources that we're going to be looking at that has fed my research over the last year or so is a One Simple Voice seminar that was done in July 2012. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. Frannie had appeared on the Rocky Mountain Views, and there were 4 of them. One of them included Richard Hannafin, and this is about 3 hours of content. And she was also on the Mystic Show for an interview, which was also an hour. And you can also, we'll also be looking at her book, Fixing Frannie, as well as The Invitation, which has a lot of these quotations that we're going to be using that paint a picture of what she is saying and how we are to understand what she's saying, and also from social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course their website. So One Simple Voice. They believe helping to bring you peace, wisdom, and internal harmony. Frannie Rose is a New Age guru and co-founder of the nonprofit organization One Simple Voice. Through One Simple Voice, she teaches New Age spirituality and offers interfaith retreats in Colorado, where she propagates these teachings. Also, the book, The Invitation, Uncovering God's Longing to be Heard, was written by Frannie Rose and strongly reflects the New Age teachings of Eckhart Tolle. The foreword was written by Richard Hannafin, who is the executive director of One Simple Voice. So most of this introduction today is going to be giving you Frannie's religious background, because every single thing that she says comes out of this religious formation that she has experienced over the years. She says that she has a Jewish background, so she has a certain familiarity with God, or at least that there are religious texts, and so on and so forth. And not a lot of this seems to shine through the things that I've read and viewed so far. She does seem to be partial to Buddhist and Sufi texts. When she heard a voice that claimed to be I am, told her certain things that she was to investigate and look in Buddhist and Sufi texts. She also says, for a while I was partial to Buddhist writings because they seemed to speak of something close to what I was feeling. And of course, this partiality was also in the context of what we'll talk about concerning her religious perspective of all the different faiths in the world, as God being in the center of this pie, and so on and so forth. We'll critique that and come back to that. She also quotes Catholic dissenters. I've seen on Facebook she has quoted Richard Rohr, and I think she has quoted Thomas Keating. If not, he's a really good parallel with Frannie, who also says a lot of things about the true self, and we'll talk about that during that video. Deepak Chopra, a New Age guru, she says was the greatest influence on her life on her LinkedIn page at one time. And you can also see the influence of Eckhart Tolle. She quotes him several times in her book, The Invitation. And also, the book list in Fixing Frannie, a book that she had written prior to The Invitation, is filled with authors who are immersed in New Age spirituality. The influence of Eckhart Tolle is that her story is radically similar to that of Tolle, which you can read more about Tolle on Wikipedia, who maintains a pantheistic position and a religious relativism which views all doctrine and exclusive claims to truth as a manifestation of the egoic mind. Although Christianity may assist in higher levels of consciousness, it is essentially an obstacle to a highest state of consciousness. And also Eckhart explains that we must get our usual conditioned limited thoughts out of the way. We must become mentally silent. That silence leaves room for the voice of wisdom from within. And also that the egoic mind is a prison which keeps us from seeing the true self. Once again, all rooted in that pantheistic perspective. From her book list, you can see that there's quite a few different authors, such as Deepak Chopra. Once again, you get 2 books here. Also Carl Jung, and also James Redfield and Gary Zukav. With Jung, he was in the occult and into pagan religions, and can ultimately be referred to as a pantheistic, basing itself in a monistic worldview. Monism meaning one, that everything is essentially one. For Jung, there is a collective unconsciousness, a concept which Jung felt was proved by the principle of synchronicity. Frannie uses this word in her book, The Invitation. Also, Deepak Chopra is one of the most well-known and successful New Age writers in the U.S. and maybe the West. In his book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, presents such New Age concepts as pantheism and karma. He talks of success in achieving them as partially based on the New Age worldviews. Among other books written by Chopra is The Third Jesus, about which an article was written showing his view concerning Christ consciousness, a term that's synonymous with God consciousness. Now, Chopra denies the unique incarnation of Jesus, but rather presents a New Age Jesus, where he shows us that we too are one with the Father just as he is. So we too can come to this realization, as Jesus did when he says, before Abraham was, I am. That we too come to recognize that we too are God. And Jesus is just an example of the one who understood that more than anyone else. You can also go to Christian Answers for the New Age, and you can see an article on Chopra's book on the Third Jesus. Also, she includes James Redfield, who lays out New Age principles in the Celestine prophecy, including the beliefs that all is energy, and as one spiritually advances, his body vibrates at a higher frequency and becomes lighter. He states that this is why Jesus was able to walk on water. The climax of his book is the teaching that you can advance to the point of your body disappearing. And he writes that this is why it appeared that Jesus ascended into heaven. Though Jesus did not really ascend, he just lost his body due to his high spiritual vibrations. And once again, you can go to Christian Answers for the New Age.org to read an article review on this book. And also she includes Gary Zukav, who believes that we create our own reality and that the present material world is an illusion. The following here is an article on Zukav's book, Seat of the Soul, and that's at watchman.org. So once again, this video series is going to go over, it's going to be brief. Each of these videos are going to be brief, they're going to be quick and easy, and you're going to be able to see exactly what she teaches in comparison with the church teaches, so that you will know just how dangerous this movement is, and that we need to speak out against it, and that we need to stop people from being influenced in it. So I do appreciate you watching, and God bless.